that we have the Call of Revolutionary Cadres. And earlier in the same document, he says, it is very important to understand that, in summary, the strategic task of the NDR is the creation of a democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous South Africa based on the eradication of the legacy of colonialism and apartheid, both of them an expression of the functioning of the settler colonial state. The eradication of the legacy of colonialism and apartheid to produce this democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and so on, South Africa. That you need revolutionaries in order to achieve those objectives. Comrade Chair, we say this, all of us, correctly all the time. We need this democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and so on, South Africa. But if we asked ourselves, in the national democratic revolution battles for these things, and in the end we get a non-racial South Africa, what would it look like? What would a non-racial South Africa look like? Having eradicated the legacy of colonialism and apartheid. It would mean, for instance, one of the things, comrades, that we raised correctly is this great disparity in income and wealth between one section of the population and the majority. In a sense, black to that thing we discussed about a country of two nations. A non-racial South Africa would eradicate that. That gives you a sense of how revolutionary the concept of a non-racial South Africa is. A non-sexist South Africa. What would a non-sexist South Africa look like? Where the gender equality thing is properly addressed. That means a really revolutionary change. I'm saying, comrades, that is why Comrade Tammy raises this thing, that we need a core of revolutionary cadres to be able to achieve that democratic, non-racial, non-sexist South Africa. So it's in that context that the discussion arises as to what is the assessment of the ANC by the ANC itself? What's our view? The Comrade Percy, the document prepared that Comrade Percy was presenting, originally comes from the ANC Veterans League.
PMD offers comprehensive car insurance that you can trust from as little as 620 Rand per month.
I've been with PMD for almost 10 years.
I've been with PMD.
When the ANC Veterans League looked at this matter of a national conference resolution which said ANC renewal for the very survival of the ANC, they said, in what would renewal consist? What are the things that would need to be done to say we have therefore renewed the ANC? And as a result of that, they had a look at various positions of the ANC over a period of time. What has the movement said about itself, leading to its own conclusion, we need renewal? This is reflected, I think, in the document presented by Tam. That if you look at the 20 years, in fact, he said in more than 20 years, from 1997, he said up to 2022, ANC conferences and NGCs have successively, all of them identified this challenge of the decline in the political quality of the members of the ANC. It's a consistent matter that the movement has always identified for a long period of time to say, here is a problem. Let's do something about it, because if we don't, these are the negative consequences it produces. So the idea of an egg that is part of the renewal, you need a process to audit this membership in order to be able, on the basis of certain criteria, to be able to say, this is stay on as a member, and you go on probation. It arises from decisions that have been taken by the movement itself, about itself, over a number of decades. That identification. So this thing that Thabo is raising, do we have the core of revolutionaries who are going to lead this process of truly turning South Africa into a non-racial and a non-sexist country? It has to address the thing about the quality of this membership. And indeed, Comrade Chair, one of the issues that I was got worried about, listening to some of the comments, I was saying to myself, some of the comments mean we need to do a bit more political education among ourselves. You see, for instance, was one comrade who raises things about local government and says it must be possible for us to withdraw councillors and not have by-elections. So I said to myself, here comes trouble. Because, comrades, in the discussion of this matter, in the course of preparing for the constitutional discussions in the 90s, what the movement said, one of the things that we've got to address seriously is this clause in the Freedom Charter: the people shall govern. When it says the people shall govern, now we are faced with the possibility, because of the victories of the struggle, of actually giving expression to this notion in the way our government is organized, in the way the state is organized. What shall we do to make sure that we give expression to this notion, the people shall govern? And that is why, comrades, if you look at what the Constitution says about municipal elections, municipal government, and all of that, it was a very, very serious attempt to give expression to that notion. Comrade Suko correctly quoted what the ANC Constitution says, that we must mobilize in that locality to make sure that civil society participates, interact with the people twice a month, and all of that. It's expressed in the arrangements about how local government should function. That became our presentation during the negotiations, to give expression to this notion, the people shall govern. Now, in that context, you can't say, let the people elect these councillors. And having elected them, me as the ANC, I'm free to remove them. And not allow the people to replace them. It's contrary to the notion, very deeply embedded in the way that local government works, of the people shall govern. I'm saying follow the thing that Comrade Zuko was saying, what the ANC Constitution says about what the branches should do and the PEC and so on at the local level, it's expressed, the same notions are expressed in the law in terms of the functioning of local government. It hasn't worked. We have not done the things that are prescribed in the law about how local government should function. But I think that the idea that the suggestion that was made, I don't think would be correct. But again, this is a matter that we needs more political discussion among ourselves. So, comrades, I'm saying, thank you very much indeed for having us here as you discussed these challenging issues. Because when the ANC in the May 29 elections gets 40% of the votes, it translates to me, and fortunately to this comrades, Tammy and the other comrades, in the same way, that this outcome constitutes a threat to the democratic revolution, constitutes a threat to the leader of that democratic revolution, the ANC. That conclusion is correct. And therefore, the question arises immediately. What do you do to defend that revolution and to defend the ANC? And that, in a sense, has been the center of our discussion here, the purpose of our discussion over these last 2 days. Certainly, that was the purpose of the presentations that were made yesterday, to answer these two questions: the defense of the revolution, the defense of the ANC. And in that context, Comrade Tammy says that to implement the strategic task, that the defense of the democratic revolution and this leader, the ANC, two of the objectives our movement will have to focus on without wavering must be, one, to ensure that wherever the ANC serves in government, at the national, provincial, and municipal levels, it turns the page and actually delivers the goods and services expected in each of these spheres of government. Nobody addressed this issue. Comrade Chair, let's forget about national for now and say in Gauteng province, the ANC is in government, it leads government provincially, and I think we're the government in the majority of municipalities. Am I wrong? The ANC. So this is challenging us to say, as part of our response in terms of the defense of the democratic revolution, let us use the fact that state power is in our hands at the provincial and local government levels, not all of them. I'm talking about Gauteng. Let's use that strength that we have, the positions that we have. State power is in our hands. Why don't we use that state power to produce these outcomes? To turn a page. And you'll remember the quotation that Comrade Tammy used yesterday, quoting Helen Ziller, who was saying that she expects the ANC in the next 10 to 15 years to crumble. And she said, instead of the ANC, we, the DA, must present ourselves as the ones who deliver these goods and services to the people. Here is therefore a proposal, comrades, to yourselves, as our leadership in the Gauteng province. What is it that we must do to ensure that we turn the page and actually deliver the goods and services expected of us in the provincial and national and municipal levels. In that context, the issue that was raised about the recall of councillors was very legitimate, because we've got to make sure that these ANC comrades who are deployed at these levels actually work to produce this outcome. Because to win back, it's obvious, to win back the confidence and so on of some of the comrades made the point that the masses have lost confidence in the ANC because of this and that and the other. To win back that support is to address the things that I know when the provincial leadership did its own research and all of that before the elections, to identify what are the challenges facing us. And that's electricity, jobs, crime, and so on. This is saying, let us make sure that we use the capacity we have in those areas where state power is in our hands to address exactly the matters that were identified in our own researches. Well, I'm sure you will not be able to answer this question, Comrade Chair. Are we confident as the ANC that we can do that? That our provincial government, Comrade Panyaza, will indeed make sure that in the manner it functions, it produces its positive results. And that our comrades at the municipal levels, wherever we're in government, Gauteng, Johannesburg, and wherever else, Ekurhuleni, so on. At that municipal level, and the local municipalities, are we confident that we will